Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live stream. We're talking through one of my most favorite, exciting topics right now, which, first of all, is travel. Like, how do we not love travel? But also, we get to talk through a very special kind of travel today. So get on in, get situated, and get settled. I'm just going to play with, looks like we're having trouble broadcasting to Facebook. So I want to make sure that we're all set so that all you Facebook people can see this as well. And if not, then we'll just have to share it with you later. Let's see. Remove it. Annie, welcome to the conversation.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
We're going to have fun today. You know, we always do anyway. And for everyone watching, I see you all coming in. Go ahead and drop in the chat who you are, where you're based out of. I want to see where we are in the world today. So go ahead and put that in. In the meantime, we've got some slides, and I want to take a minute to get you all situated on what we're talking about today. So you just met me and you've met Annie. I am Beth Santos. I'm founder and CEO of Wanderful. If you're familiar with our Wanderful community, welcome back. If you're not familiar with Wanderful, welcome. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about us. And Annie is our incredible chief curator of this Edinburgh Global Meetup. Annie, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this role?
Sure. Yes, I, like you, obviously, as a member of Wanderful, I love travel. And over the years, I, had people start coming to me, asking me to help them plan trips. I am a nerd for the details and the possibilities and mapping it all out and creating epic experiences. And so, that over time turned into its own business. And here we are now planning this amazing event for women in Edinburgh.
And Annie is underselling herself because she's not just a Wanderful member. She really has built an entire business helping people who are independent travelers plan their own trips, giving them inspiration. So you can tell people where they can find you for more information.
Most of my social media energy is spent on Instagram, which is, just Explorer Annie. And then intothebold.com is the website where you can see more about the different services and how I help people plan trips, all of that.
It's a really cool business. And Annie has been such an expert in our community and just giving people tips on how to get out there and how to do that on their own, without having to rely on somebody doing all that work for you, being able to have that independence. And she does some good itinerary and travel planning too. So for those of you who are not familiar with Wanderful, let me give you just like a quick overview of what we do. So Wanderful is an international network of travel-loving women, and we're based online and in cities all around the world. We started as a blog in 2009. We incorporated as a business in 2013. So this is our 10th anniversary year, which is a really exciting time for us. And not only do we have chapters all around the world, we have 50 local hubs worldwide that you can meet other women, get advice, but then we connect online in a whole membership hub where you can find people to give travel advice, to get together for that cup of coffee when you're visiting a new place, to learn about when our local hubs are meeting. We have deals and discounts. We do virtual events every week, a couple times a month. And we have all different membership types, whether you're a travel lover, whether you're a content creator really building a business, whether you're a small business owner and kind of looking to really take that next step. We really want to help not only connect travel-loving women worldwide, but make travel a more inclusive, a more responsible, a more equitable place for women. Because one of the things that I often go on a whole tangent about is the fact that women make 80 to 85% of travel decisions. And yet when you look at the representation of women in travel, it's either not existent at all, or it's very, very particular to kind of one demographic of women. And we really want to make sure that we're telling much richer stories about who is actually getting out there so that we can get more people out there. So here's a quick look at what we do. We have thousands of community members worldwide. We have our 50 global hubs as well. We have a network of thousands of travel content creators. We host a major travel creator event called WITS. We also host the Bessie Awards, which honor women of impact in travel. But one thing that we, of course, all love to do, which is travel, and have been doing a lot more of this actually in the Wanderful community, is planning trips. You know, the last couple of years, we haven't been able to do that. We've had the pandemic, we've been home, we've been connecting online, and now everyone's like, let's get out there and travel. So we've been planning some really neat travel experiences. Some of them are full-on group trips. We just had a group of 25 people go to Antarctica with Intrepid. It was, as Marissa would describe it, a life-changing experience where she was also sick all the time because they hit some like rocky water, but life-changing nonetheless. And so sometimes organized trips. But then one thing that we also have started implementing as of last year is something that we call Global Meetups. And I want to introduce this concept for those of you who are listening, because it's a little bit different. It's something that I don't want to say we invented it. I'm sure people have done things like this before, but invented it for ourselves, which is the idea of, rather than planning something soup to nuts, rather than, having a trip, selling it for a few grand, having you go on, and the minute you arrive at the airport to the minute you depart, it's all organized. We're actually creating a concept that is much more solo travel friendly. So the idea is, if you've always wanted to go somewhere, but maybe you didn't want to plan it all by yourself, maybe you didn't want to go alone, now you have the opportunity to do it in community with other women from around the world. And it's called a Wanderful Global Meetup. So let me just say it again. It's not a group trip. We're not organizing every little thing. You're not having all of your meals covered, all your transportation covered. What we do is we lightly curate a trip. So we pick a destination, we get a room block so that you can all kind of stay together. We plan 1 to 2 key activities per day. Usually it's around a meal. Maybe we're getting together for dinner, we're going out for a concert or a show, and then the rest is up to you. And what happens is, when you have a group of wonderful women all together, staying in the same place, visiting the same city, doing some activities together, you have options. You have the choice to meet up with other women and pair off and go somewhere. You have the choice to decide what you want to do. Maybe there's a museum you really wanted to check out. Now you have other people that can go with you, or you can go off on your own and have a group of people to come back and have dinner with. So it gives you that freedom to explore, that freedom to do what you want to do. Look, the sun is coming in at this weird angle now. I'm going to shift. The freedom to connect with other women and have this community. But it's also, because of that, because not every little thing is planned, it's also much more affordable. So we'll talk about like the pricing and how that breaks down as well. And the other thing that's been really nice about our global meetups is, because we have such an international community, we've also been bringing in a lot more of a local focus. So whether that's coordinating with our local hub, which we have in Edinburgh, whether it's bringing in the advice and perspectives of people who have lived in these places, or very familiar with these places, or current residents now, whether it's supporting small business. A lot of the money that we spend on our global meetups go directly to small businesses, women-owned businesses. We prioritize minority-owned businesses, really trying to make sure that we're living the values that we want to see. And so this becomes a very different kind of trip than something that you might just kind of buy in like a pre-packaged plan. And of course, I want to tell you about our last global meetup, which we did in November of 2022. I see some people talking about it already. Like, the first one in Mexico City was amazing and love the concept. It being a great idea. I love that you're listening in secretly from work in New York City. We'll keep the volume down for you. And let me show you these photos. So the global meetup to Mexico City, we teamed up with our local Mexico City hub. Pam, our local hub director, was the one who planned a lot of the activities. They went out for a taco crawl. They went to a lucha libre night. They had brunch on these boats called trajineras, and they all stayed at the Salina, which is kind of like a hostel hotel concept. So everyone is able to stay together. And I didn't go on the first one. I've heard so many good things. We're actually planning on doing this particular global meetup more frequently, possibly every year, so that newbies to the Wanderful community can come check it out. And we'll also have a new one that we'll introduce for everyone else. So for all of you to know too, the other thing that differentiates these meetups is you do have to be a Wanderful member in order to go. Doesn't mean that you can't sign up right now. And so when you go to sign up for your spot on the Global Meetup, you can opt in to add a Wanderful membership to that, because what that's going to do is it's going to give you access. Oh, here comes my 6-year-old. She's going to come in and say hi in a second. It's going to give you access to our whole community, so you can plan your travels together, talk about what you want to do together, find a group of people to get tickets to go to X museum together. And that's going to be a really nice way for you to have access to that community before the trip, during the trip, and then afterwards. So everyone who joins our Global Meetups is a member. You have access to our online hub and our on our platform, Mighty Networks. And then you get to have this like amazing life-changing experience together, which you're just going to love. So our last one was in Mexico City. Our next one, now I get to pass this over to you, Annie. Our next one is Edinburgh, Scotland. We're going to be going September 7th to 10th of this year. We do still have spots left. We're going to talk about that. Annie's going to take you through the itinerary. Annie, for your reference too, I also have a slide that talks about where we'll stay, so I can cue that up too when you want to talk about it. And then we'll also go through pricing at the end, so you can get a feel for how this all works out. And of course, if you have questions at any time, drop them in the chat. We can either answer them on the spot live, or we can hold them to the end and then address them then. So let's go through the itinerary, see what we're going to do, and have a little chat. Shall we, Annie?
Love it. Yes, let's do it.
Well, and, can you tell us just a little bit, because I've actually never been to Edinburgh. I hear amazing things about Scotland in general. You are like a Scotland lover. Yes. I was like, Scotlandophobe? No, that's the wrong word. Scotlandaholic? So how did you get into that?
I
love Scotland.
Honestly, okay, so back in my first trip to Scotland was in 2013. So my mom had actually always, the place that she had always talked about going was Ireland. So I was like, okay, we're going to make this happen. And it was my husband actually who was like, let us build in some Scotland. And we're like, I mean, okay, whatever. But like Ireland is really the thing. And every single one of us, Ireland is amazing. Let me just go ahead and say that. But every single one of us came away and was like, oh my God, Scotland, that's the thing. Like it was everything that I imagined in my head Ireland would be, but it was in Scotland. Ireland had that too, but there is something about that place that is just absolute magic. I fell in love and have been back time and time and time again. It is in my top 2 favorite places ever. Like if I had a place that I was going to have like a vacation home or a place to retire to, Scotland, top of the list, 100%.
I love it. So as you can see, Annie is a huge fan, has planned many, many trips to Scotland and Edinburgh. And so we had to reel her in to help us really build an itinerary that, again, like we use itinerary with a giant asterisk over here. We're like, it's not a full, again, we're not doing everything, but you also have Annie's knowledge that can help you to plan some of your own stuff, and we have like a little group in our online hub where you can ask those questions of, oh, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? So you can get that feedback as well. But tell us a little bit about what you have planned.
Okay. So first I have to say, when you came up with this global meetup idea, I was so excited because as an indie traveler, group tours are not my thing, but I loved and had to jump on this idea of like, yes, gathering in a place and we're going to do some things together, but really leaving so much space and opportunity for exploration and, to really indulge whatever it is that you want to do. So I love this idea.
Yay!
So I know. And Edinburgh is it's such a beautiful city. And I'm so excited that there's going to be time to explore. And then also we're going to incorporate some of these cultural and local elements. So we are going to kick things off on that Thursday with a happy hour. And we are partnering with the Scotch Whiskey Experience, which, you're in Scotland. Scotch is a thing that is, it's everywhere. It's part of
right. You have to do, right. As long as you drink alcohol, you have to do it. Yeah, totally.
Yes, sure. It is a must. And so for the happy hour, they are actually going to bring in a Scotch expert to talk about kind of the history, how to drink Scotch, and pair it with Scotch and chocolate is like I mean, people talk about chocolate and wine, but I'm telling you, Scotch and chocolate is like where it's at. So they're going to bring in someone to like teach about this, talk about Scotch, the heritage, the culture, how this fits in. And we're going to have a chance to have a little taste, have some chocolate to go with it. So I think that's going to be a really fun way to kick off the event, get everyone together in one place, meet, greet, get to know each other, and then also get just this little bit of cultural experience. So it's in the evening. It's not all day. It's and then afterwards there's opportunity. Yep, and it's right by Edinburgh Castle, like on the Royal Mile. Like you can't get a better place to start an Edinburgh trip. And then there'll be time after that people can go check out the pubs, get dinner, if whatever it is they want to do. So it's nice because there's gather together and then do whatever you want.
Cool.
And then so Friday we have given like the whole morning is yours to explore, do whatever you want. There's so much to see and do in the city. So you get to choose your own adventure on that day. And then in the evening we have, so Edinburgh is, I mean, obviously this is especially for those of us coming from the US, where the oldest thing is a few hundred years. So Edinburgh is much, much older than this. And there is a little known, like there is an underground network of kind of caverns. Like it's like this whole underground city. And there's a lot of history that goes into that. And so we have partnered with one of the tour groups that takes people through and tells stories, and they are putting together a women's history tour, which I feel like is fully on brand for Wanderful, that they're going to take us through those networks and tell us about the women who lived in these places and the history that they contributed to there. And then bonus, we're going to have, they're going to welcome us. We get some Prosecco to just have a minute to get together and see this place. So we're going to have that women's history tour, and then we're going to get together for dinner on it's Victoria Street. It is this just beautiful, like perfectly idyllic little street in Edinburgh. Rumor has it that it may have been part of the inspiration for J.K. Rowling's Diagon Alley, that it is just these like funky little shops and just a beautiful street. So we're going to have dinner right there in the heart of the old city. And that's our Friday. So
cool.
That's going to be wonderful.
And then already like the style of this, as you all can see, is like Thursday you check into your place and then we get together and meet. Friday you've got the day to explore and then we get together and meet. So you've got this like embedded group of people to connect with and share stories with and talk about your day with and what did you do and share ideas and trade, tips that you found out. And then you have the freedom and flexibility to go off on your own. So I'm seeing that for sure here.
Exactly. And we did the same thing with Saturday. So during the day, yours to explore, do what you want. And then one of my personal favorite things to do in Edinburgh is the live music. Like musicians will gather in pubs with their instruments and take up a seat at the table and just play music together. And so that is a really fun thing. And so we're kind of making this a little more meetup style. It's not going to be one big group because these pubs, I mean, these traditional pubs, they're A, not that big. B, you just show up and listen to the music. This is not like, we don't take reservations. You're just going to come here and enjoy the thing. So we have a few different pubs that offer, regularly scheduled live musics where musicians come in and play. So we're going to break into 3 different groups and everybody just kind of gets, I mean, we can do our own kind of pub crawl or, move from one to the other, but it's going to be a really fun experience to just go and be in the place and listen to the music that comes from this land. And I mean, it's just magic. There's no other way to say it.
I love it.
Yes. And then, so again, another whole day of exploring, do what you want. And then we're going to get together, drinks, music, if you want to stay out all night, great. If you want to kick off early and get some sleep, do your thing. So I love that this is so flexible and that we did that on purpose. And then to wrap things up, Sunday morning, I mean, you have to have a full Scottish breakfast. Like, this is non-negotiable. You cannot come to Edinburgh and not have a traditional full Scottish breakfast. So that is a thing that as a group we have set up with, and the nice thing is vegan and vegetarian options are available. So we've made sure to incorporate that for everyone as well. But just a chance to kind of like wrap up, say our goodbyes. Maybe some will continue traveling on together or not. But I think a lovely hearty meal after a night at the pub is going to be just the thing to just put a beautiful little bow on this just amazing experience.
It's so awesome. And by the way, I have a little bit of intel for those of you who are kind of like, oh, I want to stay around and explore and do more. We're actually talking to this brand new glamping resort that's coming out. Resort is it's like a retreat. It's small, it's like one big mansion and then like little glamping pods all around it on this historic property. And I'm talking with the owner right now, and she's looking at maybe having an option for an extension for anyone who's interested in doing that, doing a little bit of like countryside glamping. It's going to be really cool. So if you do want to stay around, send us a message, let us know, because I think that is going to be a really nice thing to be able to add on to your trip. But again, like we try to keep these global meetups pretty short too, because we want you to feel comfortable and able to do whatever you want. If it's showing up into the city early, if it's adding something later, the meetup itself is those three days, 3 nights, right? And then the rest of it, you're kind of off on your own. And Annie, I would love for you to whet our appetite too, a little bit of like some of the things that people might do on their own. Are there certain sites that are in particular, like definitely on your top list of things to do in Edinburgh?
I mean, yes, especially if like as a first time visitor, the Royal Mile is, I mean, this is iconic. Edinburgh Castle, there's so much there to see. St. Giles Cathedral is personally one of my favorites. It is just, as a non-religious person, I love me a good church. So it's so beautiful. I love the architecture. This little chapel is what it's called. There is a whole historical relevance tying back to the Queen of England, and like, it's really gorgeous. So, I mean, you can easily spend a few hours just wandering the Royal Mile, tons of souvenir shops. It's like, but it's one of those, like, you have to see this. Other favorite places, there are some incredible views if you want to get, out into a little more nature. So there is Arthur's Seat is a hike up that just has gorgeous views of the city. If you don't want to work quite that hard, Salisbury Crags are like right there. Also just a lovely place to go have a picnic. Holyrood Park is right there. Calton Hill is also a favorite. There's some historical things, also beautiful views. Can you tell that I have a thing for parks and the nature? So that a walk through Dean Village. Dean Village is one of the more picturesque parts of the city where people go. Like that would be for those who are, content creators or just love photography. Like that would be a really lovely place to just go have a walk around. The Edinburgh Botanical Gardens. And then there's the whole, like, if you want to stay even close to the Old Town, there's Old Town and New Town, which is so not new. It's probably, at least as old as most of what we have here in the United States, but it's new for them. Between the two, there's like Princess Street Garden, which is just a lovely place you'll find when the weather is nice. Everyone is there lounging out in the sunshine. But Newtown also has a lot of restaurants, like the Scott Monument is right there, memorial to Sir Walter Scott. There is, oh man, it was right there and now it just flew right out of my brain.
Annie, I asked you for like a couple tips and you're just like, this, like literally off the top of your head, folks. I have not prepped her in any way for like that question. And so just the fact that you have all of those suggestions right like at the very tip of your tongue tells me that there's like so much to do, so much to see, and just like a really cool trip overall. I love it.
Yes. And I will make a pitch, one quick pitch for if one is staying longer and looking for a day trip, Sterling absolutely
Cool.
is one of those places where I feel like it's the gateway to the Highlands, that like it is, if you want to really kind of understand a lot about how Scotland came to be, Stirling and a visit specifically to Stirling Castle, absolutely necessary. This is the place where like William Wallace, Braveheart, like this is the area where a lot of those kinds of historical events happened. So highly recommend if one is looking for a day trip. And it's like an hour train ride. It's really easy. But yes, so that is the short list. And also, if you're looking to plan extra things, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to provide suggestions or and things like that.
Cool. And we can make that available too. Maybe we can talk about getting you in to do like an office hour or, you know, sharing some of your itinerary services, that kind of thing. And for everyone watching too, if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We can answer them now. We can also, we're going to talk a little bit about where we're going to stay. But Catherine wanted to know how the weather is in September. And I think this is a great time to answer that question.
I mean, okay, Scotland, you will need to always plan on the potential for rain. So just bring your rain jacket. Now, Europe has been getting warmer over the last few summers. It has, average is usually probably 60s in September, but you know, with as things have been looking the last couple of years, it could be warmer. So, but this is definitely one of those places, layers is the way. It'll still, it's nice because it won't be the crowds of high season, but you should still be, you know, decent weather. It's not the tropics, but you're not going to be freezing to death. Just bring a jacket.
Awesome. I love it. And I would love for you, I'm going to throw this slide on the screen too, to talk a little bit about where we're staying, because this is a really, really cool space. And while I let you talk, I'm going to let my 6-year-old daughter in who's like dying to come into the office.
Okay.
Right, tell everybody about Castle Rock.
Yes. Okay. Castle Rock Hostel. This is, I mean, we looked at quite a few, but this is the like highest rated option, hostel option in Edinburgh. It's, the space is lovely. There are a lot of room for common areas, for gathering, for hanging out, all of that. I love, one of the things that we are offering with this is they have the option for private rooms. And then we've also got, you know, some small rooms where you can stay together with other wonderful members. So that was a huge part of the decision, was these beautiful spaces where you can gather together. They have the option for private rooms if that's something that you would like to have. And also that none of the rooms that we have chosen are more than 4 people. So it will be you and 3 other wonderful members. You know, we've blocked that so that we can stay together as a group. And I think it is going to be perfect. This place is gorgeous.
And I will also add that I think there's only like 1 private room left. I know the number of private rooms that we started with was pretty small just because of the nature of this hostel. There's not a lot. But to Annie's point, all the other rooms are quads. They're for 4. So it's still like a small group. It's going to be all wonderful women that'll be with you on this trip. If you have roommate preferences, we have some people that'll say like, oh, I really want to room with this one person, or where we can definitely accommodate as best to our ability, you know, any special requests like that. So we're happy to do that. And it's funny because I was sharing Castle Rock with our team, and we have a couple people on the Wanderful team who've, you know, been to Edinburgh. And one was like, oh my God, this is exactly the place I was hoping that you would pick. They're like, it's just and for those of you who are not familiar with hostel life, you know, this is definitely going to be an introduction to hostel life. This is not a hotel. You know, I want to make that really clear too, that it's not going to be like checking into a super fancy hotel. This is going to be the community orientation of a hostel, but it's also like so rich with history, so much culture, so much personality. Like, what a great way to be introduced to that. And will help prepare you for everything to expect in terms of hostel living. So it should be, you know, I believe, I'm trying to think of like what the rules are on like towels, that kind of thing. Sometimes hostels have like you have to bring your own towel, but I think, oh no, they can be rented. So all your towels can be rent. Yeah. So it's like totally doable, great intro type space, and like perfect location for everything that we're
totally. And a beautiful view of the castle from there. And it's within probably 10-15 minutes at the very, very most walking distance from everything that we have planned. So it is right in the heart of the city. All the things that you want to see as a visitor right there.
Awesome. And Peyton has a question in here on if we need a visa for this trip, anything that we need to prepare in advance in order to book travel.
No, if you're coming from the US, you do not need a visa. So it's, I believe, 90 days that you can stay visa free. So you don't have to worry about any of that. This is, one of the nice things about most places in Europe, at least coming from the US, is that you just show up with your passport and solid. You don't have to worry about all of those extra things.
You have any, this is my question for you, but do you have any like flight booking recommendations?
For September, I would say flight booking sooner rather than later. And if you are on a budget, if you are looking to save some money, a lot of times it can be cheaper to fly into London. And then Edinburgh is only about a 4-hour train ride from London.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, and then take the train.
That you can spend some time. Spend a couple days in London on either end. Take the train to and from Edinburgh, and it's a beautiful train ride along the eastern coast. I mean, it's gorgeous and really affordable. So I would imagine that the price of your train tickets is not going to even come close to the difference between flying into London or Edinburgh. So, and also, we're getting closer. I would say book sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And there is, good, interest in the Glamping extension. Nice. Question about locker. Do you happen to know the locker situation in the rooms?
I believe that was a thing that was an important thing that we looked at. And I believe that all the rooms come with lockers. It's been a minute since I looked specifically at the hostel, so I can definitely look it up. But, yes, you know what? They do come equipped with lockers. I just scrolled down on their webpage to make sure.
I'm getting something. Hold on. I
know, right?
Information. No, that's great. And also, great. And I want you all to ask your questions now, but also the other great thing is, since we do have this group in the member hub, this is like exactly one of those reasons is we can always circle back with you, give you more information. You can always ask questions if something comes up after this. So we're able to be in constant communication with you. And that also happens, on our Mexico City trip. I know we had people who wanted to extend their stay. And I know it was a little bit challenging with Selena, but in this case, we can definitely accommodate this pretty easily, by either calling the hostel for you or giving you the number and just saying, I have a reservation and I'd like to extend it. So we want to make that as easy for you as possible as well. I have another question, Annie, about things to be in walking distance. I know you had mentioned that our particular plan is very walkable. How about other attractions, and what's the public transit situation?
Edinburgh, one of the things I love about Edinburgh is that it's a very walkable city. I have never used public transportation except getting from the airport. Depending on what I will walk all day long, but most of what you want to see is less than a 30-minute walk. Dean Village is an exception. It's a little bit further, but I feel like still totally walkable. And it's certainly around the old town, but be aware there are hills. This is Royal Mile, the castle sits on a hill. So there is some up and down cobblestone streets, just so you are aware, but everything is walkable. You're not going to really need to worry about public transportation.
Cool.
But it is available.
Yeah, no, and better than the US. I'm sure.
Always.
As always. This is great, and such good questions coming in. I know Jenny also added to the transit conversation, flights wise, there's some new airlines kicking off to Heathrow. So that's a great tip as well. I love that idea of going through London, and then you've got, why not add a London trip on top of this? And I think that's one thing that I love about these global meetups too. We're picking places where you might be perfectly fine traveling on your own. Like it's not like you couldn't book a trip to Edinburgh by yourself. It's just a matter of maybe you don't want to, and so to be able to have the experience of traveling alone while also being able to have people to have dinner with and meet up with, it's kind of like the best of both worlds. And then, yeah, you can continue on to London. You can continue on to another solo adventure. I have noted some of the comments about, some extensions. We'll definitely, talk about that and work some of that out.
Cool.
And I know we are getting close to the end. So Annie, if it works for you, what we can do is talk through pricing.
Sure.
Full sense of that. Okay. So we have one more slide to talk through how this works. So I mentioned that these trips are very affordable. This is not a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 trip. This is in the hundreds because we want to make sure that this is something that you can do easily on your own, that you're also, giving to the local community, that we're supporting these small businesses. But this is like the perfect example of you get what you pay for. Again, we're not going to baby you on this trip. We're not organizing every little thing for you. We're not sorting out every little detail. We're going to help you with advice. We're going to give you, support when you need it. We're going to be there for you to have dinner with. We are doing all of the bookings at this hostel. So if you stay there's the meetup only option, the meetup and quad, and then the meetup in private room. If you stay in one of those two latter ones, the meetup in quad or the meetup in private room, we'll put you on a list. We'll arrange for all of the lodging, and then you're on your own if you want to extend or not. But also if you're thinking, hey, I'd rather stay in a hotel, I'd rather have a different type of lodging, you can just sign up for the meetup only option, and then you'll get all of the activities and you just won't have the stay. So $4.99 USD for the meetup only, $5.99 if you want to participate in the quad, $7.99 for that private room. And that gives you all of the dinners and activities that Annie mentioned. We're going to prepay for all of that stuff. And then anything else that's not included, breakfast on Saturday, activities that you do, those are on your own. And then you can kind of pay for them as you go. And Sophie just asked this question, which I just mentioned too. So thank you, Sophie, on being able to book accommodations near the hostel. Yes. So if you wanted to come with us, but you didn't want to stay at Castle Rock, totally fine. Just select the meetup only option and then just show up at the Thursday welcome party. Of course, it won't be just show up. We'll be in like lots of communication with you before that, but there's no requirement to stay at the place that we're all staying. It's just an option if you'd like.
And there are a ton of accommodations right nearby too. So there's a lot of options available.
Yeah, that's perfect. And Naila has the question of max person limit related to the number of hostel rooms. If you stay somewhere else, are you still able to join the activities? Oh, look at that. We're just answering all these questions for everybody today. Perfect. Yeah. So is the max person limit related to the number of... Yes and no. So we have a limit of number of participants, not just because of the hostel, but also because of things like dinner, our tour reservations, that kind of thing. In this particular meetup, that limit is actually very high. I think we have like 50 people that we can accommodate, right, Annie? Something like that?
I think it's 50, 56, 53, something like that, but yes.
It's a lot. I mean, our Mexico City Global Meetup, I think we maxed out at 40. So this is quite a bit more. And I think even that it really comes down, if we hit a number like that, it ends up becoming, at dinner, we're going to have some tables in a room rather than like everybody at one table. This isn't, you're not gonna be able to fit 50 people at one table. So there is kind of like a loose limit here. The number of people that reserve the meetup tickets, we're kind of constantly updating the website to make sure that we're accounting for that in the private rooms and the quads. So yes, there is like one maximum total number just to make sure there's room for everyone. It's a very long way of explaining that. Nice. And to see some good thoughts about people thinking about this, which is great. Annie, any tips, thoughts, questions as people think about, if they want to be going, what they should be considering, how to get ready?
It's just going to, just do it. This is like seriously, it's good. It's going to be amazing. This is a beautiful place. I do not have enough wonderful things to say about this city and this country. And I think that this is going to be such a wonderful experience for women to travel together without that super structured. I mean, just do it.
And there will be a local guide on site that will be taking us all through, and that'll be a member of the Wanderful community who is either, we're kind of working out the kinks, but it's either a member of our local chapter or somebody who has lived in Edinburgh. So you'll be able to have like really, really close local connection. And this is the link to sign up. I'm going to drop it in the chat as well. It's just sheiswanderful.com/global meetup/Edinburgh. Couple of slashes in there, but you'll be able to sign up and reserve your spot. And they're open, they're rolling now. So make sure that you get in and do that if you'd like. The other thing that we didn't really mention, but maybe shouldn't be left unsaid, which is you're really benefiting here from a trip. It's not just like the fact that we're traveling together, but it's also like these little nuances in itinerary planning seem like maybe not as much as they are. But actually, like, because Annie is such an expert on traveling to this place, we had a good conversation about what's the best time of year to go. When should we? And we were looking at, weather in September versus cost. We also looked at how affordable is it to travel to this place at this time? How busy is it? What's going on? So I think that's also, there are things that as a first-time traveler, you might not have even thought of that Annie has already incorporated because she knows so well just the nuances of the place throughout the year, which is really special. And Milena wants to know if there's a deadline to sign up. No, there's no deadline. There is a refund policy, I believe, that we do up until, I want to say 90 days out, which is June. After that, there is no refunds because we do need to make all of our confirmations and that sort of thing. So if you want to sign up the day before and just show up, you can. You're not going to get, if there's room, you're not going to get like all the benefits of the conversation and the support and planning, but there is not, well, actually, I don't know. Should I say that, Annie? Because Annie's going to be like losing her mind if everybody signs up the day before and now we have all these reservations.
We do have to, finalize meals and things like that. So I would say, again, and if budget is even remotely a consideration, sooner rather than later for flights and everything. But I would say, by the end of May or June, I would for sure have that decision made that will allow us to make sure that we communicate with the restaurants and the places, and get your orders and make sure that everything goes really smoothly for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, the sooner the better. And also, I want to say you can book up until the last minute, but like we're almost sold out of the private rooms. So I also don't want you to wait and then regret it because now there's no spots available. So get it in soon. But we'll update the website and update the team if we have like a hard deadline so that and you don't miss it. All right. So everyone, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I hope this has given you some good inspiration, some good motivation. Annie, thanks for sharing your perspective and your thoughts and your advice. This is just like putting me so in travel planning mode already. I can't wait.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to be a part of this and to help just introduce this incredible place to a whole new group of women. So I'm excited.
Well, everyone, you know where to find us. If you are a Wanderful member now, you can always hop into the member hub and ask questions. If you're not a member, come check us out. Just go to sheiswanderful.com/join. You get access to global meetups like this one. You'll have access to our whole online network, our local hub events. I have to say, it's a really cool community to be part of. We love our network here. So you definitely want to take some time and join. And thank you all. Here's the sun telling me it's time to go. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you in Edinburgh and have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thanks, Annie.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.